Hi, welcome to week 5. Let's go over this week's objectives. We're going to continue describing the developing person at different periods in the lifespan, understanding possible bumps in the developmental process, and this week you're going to design and implement developmentally appropriate and challenging learning experiences. We're going to be talking about physical and cognitive development in adolescence and socio-emotional development in adolescence. So that is chapter 9 and 10 in your text. And you have the same discussion questions as usual. And then you're going to have one assignment for week 5. So let's talk about some physical and cognitive development in adolescence. So a lot of the stereotypes of adolescence are pretty negative, but there are some adolescents that really nicely navigate this time and do it fairly successfully and become competent adults. So we don't want to pigeonhole them with our stereotypes. Additionally, puberty's determinants include nutrition, health, and heredity. So we can't do too much about heredity, but we can do a lot about nutrition and health. So we want to be teaching these kids proper sleep hygiene, staying off their cell phones late at night and their electronics, as that leaches the melatonin from our brains and keeps us awake. This is a time when the emotional center of the brain is completely developed by the end of puberty, but the prefrontal cortex, which is the seat of logic, is not. And unfortunately, excessive video game watching and fiction movie watching, so non-fiction is okay, like documentaries and stuff, those things actually widen the gap between logic and emotion. And so we are seeing a lot of crimes by kids even that are shooting up in schools, and what's happened is their emotional center is activated, but their logic and their thinking of consequences and other strategies of how to deal with emotions are just not activated. So we're seeing problems there. And then they are getting less sleep than they need. The leading cause during this time of life is accidents. Sorry, accidents during adolescence, because they have the belief that they are invincible and nothing bad will happen to them. There's a lot of risk-taking, risky behavior, and so we want to help them with that. Additionally, they have the imaginary audience, for they're sure everyone is looking at them all the time, and they're very self-conscious and can be very awkward. But luckily, they all are thinking only about themselves during this time. We call it kind of a narcissistic stage. And so luckily, the only one worrying about them is usually themselves and their parents, of course. Okay, this stage is when we are going to be looking at identity versus identity confusion. So this is a great time to let your teenager be in charge of their haircut, their hair color, their clothes to an extent. If they want to get a little ear piercing or something that isn't permanent, that's great. But keep in mind this is better than tattoos or shaving their head permanently or something like that. Or it's better than experimenting with their hair than with drugs. So it's good for parents to let their kids experiment within safe bounds and non-permanent bounds. And then James Marcia, you're going to learn about his 4 identity statuses. He has a different theory than Erik Erikson, and I'll ask you to compare those two and see which one you agree with. Positive adolescent adjustment is linked to them being able to talk to their parents and tell them what's going on. So parents need to, mask some of their stronger emotions so that teens feel safe talking to them, and parents need to not get too extreme, not freak out when their teens talking to them, but just be an open and safe place to listen so they feel safe and the parent knows what is going on. And this is also linked to their whereabouts. The hallmark of the adolescent stage, the push for autonomy. But why can't I do that? I'm practically an adult. But interestingly, when asked to do things like the laundry or clean the house, they want to be kids still. So being an adult is about taking all responsibility along with choice making, and they don't fully understand that. So it's our job to help them see what it's really like to be fully in charge. Okay, so they understand what that would be like, not actually put them fully in charge, just to clarify. That would be scary. Okay, have a great week. Let me know how I can help you. You're more than halfway done, and before you know it, you'll be in a different course, I'm sure. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.